Nobody plans to stay forever. That's the thing about Microsoft. Nobody arrives thinking this is the last stop. You arrived with a timeline. 2 years. Maybe 3. Learn the systems. Build something real. Move on. That was 14 years ago. Stay. Because the story of how 2 years became 14, and what it quietly cost, is the one nobody tells at exit interviews. Redmond. First week. A campus enormous enough to lose 15 minutes just walking between buildings. Buildings named with numbers. Paths deliberately long. Everything scaled to remind you of the size of what you had joined. Your manager shook your hand. Welcome to the empire. You laughed. He didn't. First month. The tools. The processes. The particular weight of a company doing things the same way since before you had opinions about software. Everything worked. Nothing was fast. Both simultaneously true and somehow fine. You had come from a startup. The silence of a place not constantly on fire felt almost suspicious at first. Week 6. The performance review cycle began. Not the review itself. The preparation for the review happening in 7 months. 7 months ahead. You filed it away. You had time. That felt like a reasonable thing to believe. The work was solid. Real. The kind that mattered to a billion people in a very quiet way. There is a specific satisfaction in building something nobody notices. You found it. You held on to it carefully. What nobody told you, satisfaction and meaning are not the same thing. The gap between them widens slowly. So slowly you don't feel it moving until it has already moved quite far. Have you ever realized you stopped asking whether the work meant something, and just started asking whether it was done? Tell me below. That shift happens so quietly most people never catch it. Year 2. New manager. Younger than expected. Faster. More decisive. The kind of person who made decisions before the room had finished processing the question. The thought arrived uninvited. Have I already started slowing down without realizing it? You hadn't. But thoughts like that, once arrived, tend to stay. The Microsoft way revealed itself gradually. Not in one moment. In the accumulation of small ones. Feedback traveling upward slowly and arriving back changed. Ideas entering one form and returning in another. Good ideas needing 3 layers of approval before becoming real. Sometimes 4. The word alignment appearing in every conversation about anything new. Every single one. You learned to navigate it. Everyone did. That was the unspoken curriculum, not the technical skills. The navigation. Year 3. Layoff announcements. Not your team. Adjacent. Close enough that the air in the building changed for 2 weeks. People walked more carefully. Talked more carefully. Performance reviews suddenly felt less administrative and more existential. You survived. You told yourself that meant something. What it actually meant was that you had learned to be legible to the system. A different thing entirely. But here is what the onboarding documents never include. The longer you survive a place like this, the more you start to resemble it. Not your skills. You. The way you think. The way you frame problems. The way you measure whether something is worth doing. Stay with this. Because what happens next is the part that takes the longest to see, and the longest to recover from. Year 4. A promotion. Senior engineer. The title felt significant for about a week. More meetings. More responsibility for outcomes you could influence but not control. Less time building. More time managing upward. You missed building. You didn't say that out loud. It didn't seem like something a senior engineer was supposed to admit. Your partner noticed before the review cycle did. She said one evening, "You used to come home and talk about what you made. Now you come home and talk about what you prevented." You told her that was what the role required. She said, "I know. I'm just telling you what I observe." You went back to the laptop. A document needed reviewing. There was always a document that needed reviewing. Year 6. Third reorganization. By the third reorg you had developed a specific skill, reading the subtext of all hands announcements. The phrasing that meant headcount. The enthusiasm that meant uncertainty. The confidence that meant the decision had already been made before the questions were invited. You became fluent in that language. You told yourself it was a useful skill. It was. It was also a sign of something you didn't examine too closely. Have you ever become so good at surviving a place that you forgot to ask whether surviving it was actually the goal? Leave it below. That question arrives around year 6. Right on schedule. Year 8. Co-pilot. AI woven into everything. The energy in the building changed. Something more urgent. More uncertain. For the first time in years, the work kept you awake, not with dread. With something that felt almost like the person you had been on your very first week. That feeling lasted 8 months. Then the scope narrowed. The timelines tightened. The approvals multiplied. You had been here before. In a different product. In a different year. The shape was the same. Year 10. A colleague. 22 years at the company. 2 desks over. Asked her once over coffee what kept her here. She thought about it longer than expected. Then said, inertia, mostly. And health insurance. And the fact that I'm not sure I know how to work anywhere else anymore. You laughed. She didn't. That answer stayed in a part of your mind you didn't visit often. It stayed there for 4 years. Have you ever heard someone describe your future, and laughed because the alternative was too uncomfortable to sit with? Write it below. That laughter has a specific sound. You know it when you hear it. Year 12. Family dinner. Father asked how work was going. Fine. Good. Stable. He nodded. 30 years at one company. He understood stable in a way that didn't need elaboration. What you didn't say, stable had stopped feeling like safety and started feeling like a room you couldn't quite remember choosing to be in. Year 13. A recruiter. Smaller company. Building something real in a space Microsoft hadn't moved into yet. You took the call from habit more than intention. Not because you were leaving. Because you needed to know the door was still there. This one was different. The problem was genuine. The equity assumed growth. The founder reached out directly. Sat with the offer for 3 weeks. Made lists. Deleted them. Drove long routes home without a stated reason. What you were actually doing, trying to locate the person who had arrived in Redmond with a 2-year plan. Year 14. Accepted on a Wednesday. Notice Thursday morning. Your manager said, I always wondered if you'd go. You seemed like someone who needed to. Some people are built for this place. Some are built to pass through it. You were always passing through. You just stayed for the layover. That sentence rearranged something. It went into the notes app. Still there. Last day. Badge returned. 14 years carried out in one box. A small succulent on the desk corner. Green and unbothered through every reorg. Carried it to the car. Driving out of the campus for the last time. Buildings with numbers passing in the window. The 2-year plan surfaced in memory. The person who made it. The certainty they carried. Nobody plans to stay forever. But some places are very good at making forever feel like the reasonable choice. Right up until the moment it doesn't. If this found something you haven't said out loud, like this video, pass it to someone still counting the years. Stay close. Where we go next, we go somewhere even the longest tenured won't talk about.